for Schindler. Has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
First game of the season is done, so let's not dwell on it for too long. It's the warm-up, episode 113. It's Brady and Tom. It's the Leicester City preview, and this week we're joined by the podfather himself, Mr. Matt Shaw. Matt, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I can tell when you're struggling to get a guest because you always ask me to come on. So here I am, filling in as usual. So nice to see you both. It's like the Beard and Glasses Club, isn't it? This.
Yeah. It's the nerd gang. No, to be fair, you were first choice. Tom does the guest, so it's Mr. Tom Bradshaw who brought you in, and you were first choice.
In your face, Cozzy. In your face. How are you two guys? You all right?
We're good, yeah.
I feel like as the host, Brady, no one ever asks you how you are, so I want to know how Brady is. How's Brady?
I'm okay, yeah. We're recording this after I've been to Leeds Pride and I'm slightly hungover, so yeah, should be interesting. But yeah, I'm good. Tom, are you good? Matt Aston?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm a bit worse for wear. Did 90 minutes on Sunday and lost 10-0, so the legs are aching. It's a good start. Thank you. It's the podcast.
You know to pick a winner, don't we, Brady?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm not too bad.
Good. Well, come on, Matt. You know, we support Huddersfield Town. We're not used to picking winners.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
yeah.
Let's get onto this game, shall we? We're back at the John Smiths for this one. It's the first home game of the season. Always an exciting one. Well, maybe not in this case because it's very tough opposition who are travelling to Huddersfield this Saturday. It's Leicester City, who are the bookies' favourites to win the league. They had a winning start to their return to the Championship, a 2-1 victory against playoff finalist Coventry. I had a look in their team, the team that started on Saturday. Jamie Vardy, Wilfred Ndidi, Ricardo Pereira and Kieran Dewsbury Hall are just some of the names who played in that game. Enzo Macarez is the new man in the dugout for the Foxes, obviously formerly an assistant manager at Man City. So, you know, looks like an interesting team. I think that's maybe why, given him and the squad, they're favourites to lift the title. But Tom, a 3-1 defeat at Plymouth. It's not the result you want to start the season. So how's it making you feel about this game on Saturday?
Yeah, it's not it's not the best result. I think the main disappointment for me was the defensive display, and that worries me ahead of this game coming up. When you've just listed just a few of the qualities that Leicester City have in their squad, Brady, and it does make me question: are we going to be able to handle that on Saturday, and keep the score down, keep them from having as many chances as possible? So, yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game.
I think you're right, sir. And Matt, how are you feeling about this Leicester side from a Town's perspective? I suppose it's you know, you'll probably see those names again, but it might not be the same Leicester team come the end of the window.
Not bad, are they? Not bad. They're my tip to win the league. And we all know that everybody who plays Huddersfield at this time of the season at Huddersfield wins the league. So get your money on Leicester City. So yeah, very good. Shouldn't have been relegated with that team, really, should they? A lot of very good players. I think they'll win the league, and I also think we'll beat them on Saturday.
Ooh,
I know.
We'll come on to why you think that later on, but I think did you hear that, Tom? There was a deflection, which I think that means the ref is signalling for a corner. So that can only mean one thing. It's time for Tom's History Corner.
Tom's History Corner. Tom's History.
Okay. Jingles are going well. Tom, take it away.
Going well. Yeah, so just a bit of brief history between the two teams. So, as far as I'm aware, my stat man tells me we've played each other 63 times competitively. Town actually edge Leicester here. We've beat them 28 times. They've beat us 25, and there's only been 10 draws between the two teams. The first game we ever played against Leicester as well was over 100 years ago, 1910, which was a 2-1 defeat for Town at Leeds Road. And then the last game we played against Leicester was also a defeat. That 4-1 defeat in the Premier League under Jan Sievert. Jamie Vardy got a brace, and he just seems like one of those players who likes to score against Town, doesn't he, as well? I remember the season they went up from the Championship. He was in form then as well. The biggest kind of ever result, the most goals in a game between these two teams, was a win for Town in 1926. Sounds like an epic, a 5-3 victory for Town at Leeds Road, and that was in front of 26,000 fans as well. Could we see another 5-3 on Saturday? Maybe in Leicester's favour. And then there's loads of players who played for both teams, isn't there? I mean, shout out if I've missed a few, but I found a quite an interesting one. Maurice Tomkin, who I think it was 1940s, but he was actually a very good cricketer as well. And he played for Town and Leicester, but he also played cricket for Leicestershire. Connor Cody, now at Leicester. Frank Worthington, legend for both teams. Ewan Roberts, Brady's lookalike. We've got Danny Ward, goalkeeper. We've also got Alex Smithies, goalkeeper, who's still at Leicester, which is very interesting. I don't think he's actually ever played a game for him, though. Then there's loads more in there. Danny Simpson, Danny Drinkwater, Ben Chilwell, everyone's favourite Ben Hammer. It's like there's a lot of Bens, a lot of Dannys. Gary Taylor-Fletcher, Anthony Knockout. Any others? Can you think of any others? I've got two more here that are a bit more obscure.
I'll pass it over to Matt. I feel like
Frank Sinclair, did he play for Leicester?
Yeah, I think Frank Sinclair. He isn't actually on my list, Matt, but I think he did, didn't he?
Maybe.
He played for Chelsea.
He scored an own goal against Leicester either way.
Yeah, was it Chelsea and Leicester, and then maybe he came to us at the end of his career? Maybe. But the other one I had was Jermaine Beckford, which I forgot he played for Leicester. And Neil Dans.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Also, Tom, I loved how you called him Ben Hammer and not Ben Hamer.
I'm really good at pronunciation, so I can't even pronounce pronunciation right.
Well, not to worry. It's not like it was particularly good for Town, was it? But anyway, you listed some of the players there. Matt, Leicester have got Burton in the Carabao Cup, but I don't think it's going to have any impact on the team for Saturday. Do you? I imagine they'll rotate the lineup for that one.
Yeah, they've got a massive squad, haven't they? So they'll move things around, and even the team that played against Coventry on Sunday, you'll probably see changes from that because I don't think they were quite perfect. Whether they've got a lot of options. So yeah, I think that when a team comes down from the Premier League, they're still shuffling the decks a little bit, aren't they? Which is one of the reasons why I think we've got a chance. Still moving around, shuffling the decks, working out, who wants to be there, who's going to give it 100%. Because there's one thing saying you want to be there and another showing it, isn't it? So, but I think Leicester are in a good place, really. They've got good ownership, haven't they? They've got a new manager. The manager's interesting, isn't he? A Guardiola disciple. It's interesting. It might take a little while to get things going there. So, but yeah, you could see any range, and I still think it's an absolute travesty that their central midfielder doesn't play for us with a name like Dewsbury Hall. It's just made for us, isn't it?
Oh, well, I'd certainly like him. He's a very good player. Got the 2 goals against Coventry. That's interesting because you look at the matchup, like their midfield compared to us. It's, oh, God, Harry Winks, Kieran Dewsbury Hall and Wilfred and Ndidi against Reg, Redoni and Diarra. That's a no contest for me. So slightly worrying. But Tom, maybe we can see some hope in what's coming up next because we did the fan phone-in, didn't we? You spoke to Chris from Leicester Til I Die.
Yes, I did. And here is that phone call.
Hi, okay, so it's Chris from Leicester Til I Die TV.
Hiya, mate. Thanks for coming on. So, yeah, just tell us a bit about last season and what went wrong for Leicester.
Basically everything. It all started with FFP. We didn't make any signings. We couldn't sell players to make room for new signings coming in. Then Fofana up and left us like the French git that he is right at the start of the season. And it all and Rob Rogers. So basically everything. It was like a perfect storm of everything coming together. But it was all down to the FFP not being able to refresh the squad, basically.
Well, always look on the bright side of things, mate, I guess. What are you looking forward to the most about being back in the most exciting league in the world, as they say, the Championship?
Looking forward to most about the Championship. No VAR, but then again, it gives us a chance to go back to blaming referees, which, I mean, if we're not blaming referees, we're blaming VAR. I think the thing with referees is, though, that if they get it wrong, then we can sort of kind of say, well, look, they're human and what have you, where with VAR, because the fact that it is, technology, we expect it to be right. And that's the thing.
Who is your favourite Leicester player and why?
Are we talking all time or are we talking at the moment?
Go on, you give me a bit of both. Go on.
His time's coming to an end, but for me, Jamie Vardy has got to be up there. The guy with what he has achieved, he's just is a role model for the those that don't quite make it at the first attempt. If you're talking all time, probably Keith Weller, amazing player who should have got more time in the England squad than he did.
Nice one. So coming back to current day, who's your manager now, and what are your thoughts on him?
Manager Enzo Maresca, coming from Manchester City, 6 days after winning the treble with them and holding aloft the Champions League. Surprise signing, I'm going to be honest with you, not my first choice. I don't know whether he's got that experience. I would have liked the Ipswich manager or the Blackburn manager possibly, but he's an exciting signing as a manager. And look, we've only played one game, so it's really hard to tell, but he does at least appear to have a plan B. When we've just got rid of a manager who in recent years didn't even have a plan A, we're quite happy with that.
Fair play. It's quite interesting that. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to the Championship, isn't it? And just give us a bit of a lowdown on maybe the players that he's brought in or that the club have brought in for him to do his magic with.
On permanent deals, Cody, I can't believe we've got Cody. I know he's injured at the moment, but my God, 18 months ago, he was an England international. They're a bit injured at the moment, which is unfortunate, but yeah, for me, Connor Cody, can't believe we've got him. Look forward to him when he's getting better.
Yeah, good signing that for you, I think. From a town's perspective, actually, pretty good for us because I feel like you spending a bit of cash on him. We had a bit of a sell-on clause actually from when we signed him. So thank you for that. Hopefully it puts a bit more money on our transfer budget. But yeah, with this team and this manager you've got, then where do you think Leicester will finish this season?
Well, at my heart, I'd take second. If we go up, I don't care. I mean, obviously, I'd like to go up as champions, but I'm not going to say that we will go up because I think that's being disrespectful to sort of the other 20-odd clubs, 21 clubs, that aren't the three that got relegated. And I think the fact that they've got the three that have come down as going straight back up with the betting companies, I suppose it's expected, but I think it is being a bit unfair. But all right, my heart says first or second. My head says I would take anything from 5th, 6th, even 7th or 8th if it means that we don't even get in the playoffs, but the following year we go back up stronger.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. That's a good view to have, that is. And finally, let's get to the most important thing. We are a preview podcast for a reason. What do you think the score will be this Saturday?
Score predictions. You didn't have a good start. We had a good start, but again, we showed a few of the old weaknesses when we didn't take advantage of being on top. But I'm going to go 2-0 to Leicester. I'm sorry, but obviously I can't back against my team, and we did look good when we were in the winning. When we were playing the ball about, so fingers crossed. But no, 2-0 to Leicester. Sorry about that. But take care, and let's just hope football's the winner, eh?
Yes, yeah, mate. No worries. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for the call. Yeah, and good luck. Not for Saturday, but for the rest of the season. Cheers, bud. Bye.
All the best, mate. Take care. Bye bye.
There we go. Very interesting stuff from Chris there.
Yep, fantastic. Cheers, Chris. And we'll move on because it's time for Kwana's question. Hopefully the jingle works out on this one.
Things change, but also a lot of things are still the same.
Okay, they're not going the best here, but it's all right. We'll just soldier on. So it's the first home game of the season. So we asked our listeners, you listeners who are listening right now, what's your favourite first home game of the season for Huddersfield Town? I will ask the chaps, but we'll read some listener responses first. So Matt, not this Matt who's with us, but another Matt on Twitter. He said Blackburn 3-2, Sky night game, last minute winner from Rob Edwards when they'd equalised in about the 90th minute. Still remember that feeling, singing all the way up to the sports centre to be picked up. I was only 10, but it was the school holidays. Glad he added the school holidays there and he did that context. But no, good game. Good game. Johnny Googs says 3-1 against Saints in 09-10. Brace from Rhodes was closely followed by 7-1 v Brighton, start a free-scoring Man United of League One era. And Lee Morris, he took mine, so that's why I'm coming to this last. Brentford in 2016, you could just sense what was coming. There was a genuine excitement around the club that I've not seen before or since at Huddersfield Town. Maybe, we still got a little bit of time in transfer window. But yeah, Brentford was my shout. Tom, what was your shout for your favourite first home match of the season?
The two of them are in there. I think I remember that Southampton one. What a lovely day that was as well. And it was a bit of they'd just come down from the Championship, hadn't they? I think. So it was. I thought maybe it was going to be a tough test, but yeah, to run out 3-1 winners against them, and then Brentford as well. That was a beautiful day. That beautiful sunny day, and it coincided with Huddersfield Food and Drink Festival. Oof. I had a lot of pies that day.
Lots of consumption, yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. You've painted quite the picture there, Tom. Matt, what about yourself? What was your favourite first home game of the season?
This is difficult. Well, it's not that difficult because we're usually absolutely terrible at with first few games. If you look at our record, I think we've won twice the first game of the season in the last 12 years or something. It's absolutely, all that pre-season hope and everything, it just gets dashed, doesn't it? First game. But my favourite ones tend to be away games. There's the Blackpool one in 94, 95. But Notts County in about 2010 was brilliant. We went there and beat them 3-0. And we looked really good, really fluid. It was really exciting. But in terms of home games, our first home game, it's got to be, hasn't it? 45 years in the making, the first Premier League game in Huddersfield, the first top flight game in Huddersfield against Newcastle, and Aaron Moy whips that in the top corner. It's that by a mile, isn't it? Surely.
Oh, yeah, that was a great day. I remember...
Not the Chelsea one the year after, though.
No. Let's talk about that. I remember that Chelsea one actually quickly. Like Terence Congola, remember him? He did an amazing slide tackle when 3-0 down, and I remember people cheering as if we'd scored.
Yeah,
the small crumbs we clung to, doesn't it?
Yeah. Really realised that day that we were so out of us depth. Like I just remember watching Hazard and thinking, bloody hell.
I thought that with Ben Hamer as well. Different reasons.
Oh my god! But yeah, no, I remember that Moy v Newcastle. That was a great game, and I remember because my girlfriend at the time was in Primark as the game was going on, and they announced it in Primark apparently in Huddersfield. Just a momentous occasion that it was.
What's more surprising, the Primark thing, or Brady's had more than one girlfriend. I'm surprised. I thought you've been with that one for like since you were about 10 years old. I thought you were a long time lovers.
That one, okay. What can I say? I don't think I can say on this pod. So we are approaching our time here. So if, like me, as I said, and I will be doing this on Saturday, you're going to nip down to the concourse maybe a couple of minutes before the half end, depending on how we're doing, and head to the bar for a drink. Don't forget, if you're listening to this pod and you're not at the game, you can order online with our sponsor that Tom's drinking his glass of water from, Magic Rock Brewing. Don't forget, you can get 10% off all their online orders with our code AHTTC10. So yeah, get that used and get yourself some savings, and we will see you back after the break. Okay, cool. So we've changed halves during this break. So let's get stuck into town again. Now, after the Plymouth game, we asked fans how they were feeling straight after the game. It's fair to say it wasn't positive. Matt, I know you went into a bit more detail on that. But Tom, you've had a couple of days to process that game. How are you feeling about Huddersfield with the Leicester game coming up? Because obviously it's it's a tougher opposition. So are you feeling slightly apprehensive?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I'm right at the start. I mentioned it. We've got to be so much better defensively, but I think we've mentioned it off air about the midfield problem that we've got at the moment. I don't know how Reg is going to cope on Saturday, unfortunately, against this type of midfield. Hogg is, even when he's fully fit now, you've got to really have a bit of perspective and realise that he's coming to the end of his career. And yeah, it's a real shame that Kasumu's probably going to be out again, isn't he, on Saturday? And he's at least as legs and tackling, I think, for me at the moment. So I think there's something still to address in that middle before the transfer window shuts, and that's the thing that worries me ahead of Saturday.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I know you were concerned about the squad. You've kind of touched that on the pods, but yeah, it's interesting to me that you kind of think we could get something about this. You know, has that Plymouth game which you went to, has that changed your mind, or do you still think we can get something?
No. I thought Plymouth I'm going to quote Mark Fotheringham as on another day. On another day, I thought we could have pasted Plymouth. I thought we were the better team. I thought they were crap. But the problem really is that I think crap might be harsh. I didn't think they were any great shakes, I should say. It was just one of those where we missed the opportunities that came to us. I just think with Leicester, it's not a free hit. There's no such thing as a free hit, is there? But it's a game where there's no pressure. There's no expectation to win the game. It's all on Leicester. They might be a little bit arrogant as to think they can roll us over easily. And to be honest, what I liked about the Plymouth game was that even though we lost, we missed chances, we made errors, the players still battled for 90 minutes. They're still stuck at it, still battled, and you can't really. You can fault them for lack of quality at times in that game, but you couldn't fault them for the lack of effort that they put in, which you could last season. And I don't think you'll ever not get that from a Neil Warnock team. So I think we'll go at them. I think we'll get in the face. I think we'll shock them. And I think we've got a very good chance of catching Leicester on a day, on a transitional day. And when you've come down from the Premier League, you do transition and you have good days, you have bad days. I think there's a very good chance we could catch them on a bad day and we could have a good day and we could sneak it. I generally do. And I before the start of the season, I said we'd lose at Plymouth and we'd beat Leicester, and I'll stick by it. I think we've got the tools there. Like Tom said, midfield worried me all last season. I said at the start of this season, it's not, it needs addressing more than a striker for me. It is a worry, but just play over it. Do you know what I mean? You could make some alterations, and even Nakayama could fit in there. He's technically good enough, decent defensively. You could have a really good shield in front of the defense. I'd go with a back three and play 3-5-2. Like we did against Sheffield United at the end of last season. And I just think if you just really make the middle areas congested and awkward for them and frustrate them, then you can pinch it. And I generally think we can. I realise it's a long shot, and there's probably people going, "He's deluded. What's he been drinking down in Plymouth?" But it's football. It's a championship, isn't it? And it's the perfect time to play Leicester. To be honest, it was the wrong time to play Plymouth. As they've just come up and they're on a big ball of momentum. But it's the perfect time to play Leicester. It's the perfect time to play a relegated team at home. Let's get into it and give it them. Why not?
No, I like it. And you touched on the midfield there again. Tom, I heard in Warnock's pre-match press conference for the Plymouth game that he was talking about Ben Jackson and how he could possibly play midfield, and he was impressed with him in pre-season. What do you think to that? Could you see that? I suppose he's got the energy for it.
Yeah, I think he's quite a versatile player, and he technically looks good, and for his age, I think when he comes up against kind of the more experienced players, he's not shy, kind of rubbing shoulders, getting stuck in and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be a terrible option. But I think, Matt, that's a really good point about Nakayama. Kind of forgot about Nakayama even at the start of last year. He slotted in there a few times, didn't he? I think.
Do you remember Danny Schofield's famous inverted wing-back game, wasn't it, against Wigan? He played left-back and had to run into defensive midfield. It was It was a sight, was that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely a good shout. But I wouldn't be too
I won't
disappointed to
fancy
see
Ben
give him a
Jackson
go.
against Ndidi. I'll be honest. I won't fancy
Well-
Ben Jackson against Ndidi. I don't think that's the right game for him. He played. You have to remember, Ben Jackson played central midfield under Carlos, didn't he, a couple of years ago at the start of the season? It did all right. I like Ben Jackson. I just think physically he's probably got a little bit of work to do on that. He's quite got. This sounds really weird, doesn't it? Could be really misconstrued this, but he's got quite a young body for his age. Him and Scott High, they're built like 17-year-olds a little bit, aren't they? Great energy on both of them, but physically wise, they could do with maybe a touch more, and it'll come, in a year or two in their careers. But I think as for now, I wouldn't really like to see High or Jackson against someone strong like Ndidi. I just think they get bundled over for 90 minutes. But they are options for some point during the season, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I prefer us to go out and get a midfielder, if I'm honest. But if we don't, then who knows? It's up to like him and Osterfield, etc., to take a chance, isn't it, if they get one? So
yeah.
And I know, I suppose we'll revisit this, Matt, but you talk about that midfielder. What does that look like for you? What type of player do you think Town need?
it looks like Dan Barlasser to me from Middlesbrough, who's apparently available, or Cameron Brannigan, something like that. Someone tenacious who can pass a ball. And there's two names. People always say, "Oh, who are you going to get?" Well, I've just given two names there. So Cameron Brannigan, they'll cost money, obviously. And I know we've not got a lot, but someone like that, I don't think you can go get another 19-year-old from the Premier League. I don't think that's going to work, and I'm not entirely sure that's Neil Warnock's style either. But somebody like Dan Barlasser, Cameron Brannigan, trying to think of someone off the top of my head, but someone not too dissimilar to Lewis O'Brien. I'm never going to get Lewis O'Brien back. Sorry, but we're not. If he's available, there's teams with more money are going to come and take him, aren't they? But somebody with energy who can, a little bit better on the ball passing than Lewis O'Brien. So I suppose you have to offset the energy, don't you? And that Lewis and the dribbling ability Lewis brings. But yeah, just someone who can get about, tackle, and when we're in those positions where we're under the cosh a bit, can just play the ball out wide or play it into a corner and spot somebody. Or essentially, I'd get on the phone call to Aaron Moy, see if he fancies one last gig. You know what I'm like with Aaron Moy. I always wanted to come back. He'll never come back. He'll never play again. But just it's worth a phone call. Just make the call. Aaron, what are you doing? It's only £3 subs. We'll pay for your insurance.
I think we've said this, Matt. Even if Aaron Moore's like 53, we'd still have him in the midfield down.
I'd have him in my walking football team. I'd have him in Town's team when he's in a walking team. Yeah, he'd still do it. He's still got it. It's all in the head, Brady. It's all in his head.
Exactly. And he had a bit of an engine to him, but he was never rapid. So anyway, not going to happen. Lewis O'Brien's not going to happen either, unfortunately. So sad. But yeah, unsurprisingly, Leicester are clear favourites for this one on the old odds. But Tom, what do you make of this contest from a Huddersfield perspective? Is there anything you think we can hurt Leicester with?
I don't know really. I thought some of the play down the wings on the weekend looked all right. So I guess keep it wide, keep it out of that middle, because that's going to be the hardest competition in it for us. And then it's just taking us chances, like Matt said. I think it was just before half time, wasn't it? We had two really big chances on Saturday.
Three. I think Danny Ward's looked. Yeah,
so
Danny Ward's looked.
The Town should have gone in front, shouldn't they, at half time, basically, on Saturday. So it's taking chances, and let's just be. For me, I know the elements were with him for that first goal, Matt, but there's just got to be. Hellick's either got to head it out for a corner, or there's just got to be some better. That's just,
I was right behind the goal, and Nichols
crazy.
shouted for that, which caused the confusion. I heard him shout for.
Right.
I couldn't tell exactly what he shouted, but he sort of took a step forward and shouted, and then took a step back, and that's why Hellick kind of went a bit like Inspector Gadget, didn't he?
Yeah.
Arms and legs everywhere. But yeah, that's just a miscommunication, wasn't it? Which I'm sure they'll iron out.
Yeah.
And Matt, anything you think we can hurt Leicester with? Any weaknesses or strengths?
Set pieces. I think Sauber's set piece delivery against Plymouth was okay. I know he shanked that one. He hooked one pretty badly, didn't he? Which seemed to catch a few people's attention. But a couple of those were quite decently put in. They were to the far post, though. I think usually the Thomas delivery for the likes of Pearson and Hellick usually comes in around the middle of the box, sort of 6 yard, just slightly ahead. So, maybe that's hopefully something they can revisit. Matty Pearson probably be out. I think he got a dead leg, didn't he? It looked like a dead leg. So, we at the back, is Tom Lee's fit? I'm not sure. That's why I go to a back three, really, just to, solidify a little bit, because you've got Hellick and you don't know how fit Utah is either. We're dropping like flies already. This is one of my concerns. This is why people are saying the squad's too small in terms of quality, because last year we had 10, 11, 12 players injured at once for about half the season, didn't we? And we had several season enders. And, if we get lucky, then great. But if we don't, then we don't have the numbers to cope, really, do we? But I think the best way to do it is just to strengthen numbers, get Hellick in the middle, get him talking to maybe Romani on the right-hand side if Pearson's not fit, and then maybe Jutta on the left if he's fit, or maybe play him in midfield. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Because we don't know what the status is of some. I'm sure the press conference will give us more. But set pieces, Brady, to answer your question, that's the way. And it's going to be ugly. Make it ugly. Make the game as ugly and slow as possible, and just play the ball, because they'll have a high line, I guess, if under a Guardiola coach like Maresca. So play the ball over the top, make them turn, make them put it out for throw-ins. Get your foot in higher up the pitch. From there, and get the ball in the box and see what happens. I think that's going to be our tactic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose you could play because he did a little bit under Warnock as well. I suppose you could play Ruffles as a back in there.
That's a good point. Yeah, he played there against Stockport for a bit, didn't he? You could play Ruffles. Yeah, and Jimmy Heem on the left. Jimmy Heem is a great option for left wing back. Yeah.
What are you complaining about, Matt? We've clearly got options.
Shut up, Matt.
But yeah, Tom. Obviously, we're recording this ahead of the Middlesbrough Cup game. I think it was funny hearing the lack of enthusiasm we all had for talking about that game. Same with Neil Warnock, to be fair. He said he'll rotate the side. Is there anyone you think that's likely to feature in that Cup game that you think maybe should be knocking on the door for the game on Saturday? I know that's an easy one to say, but is anyone in this squad you think could maybe come and make a difference?
I don't know. It is a good question. I mean, I guess you've thrown like Headley's name and Osterfield's name out there in this podcast, so maybe that's a good chance because if he's rotating, it's going to be the younger lot in it. Because I mean, we've already discussed the depth that we have to this squad, and when you really look at who's going to replace someone, it's a younger player. So yeah, it's going to be a chance for them to maybe say, look, I can play up against another Championship side. Potentially Borough are going to do the same thing, but do you know what I mean? It's a chance to impress in it. So a couple of younger lads probably. I'm trying to think who else is either coming back. You have to throw some names out for me, Matt. You think of any?
Pat Jones was decent when he came on against Plymouth. I liked Pat Jones. Keane Harrott as well. I thought the game was made for Harrott a little bit earlier when it was 1-1. Yeah,
might be interesting if Hudlin and Harrott, like maybe he'll start those two against Borough potentially. It might be interesting to see if they kind of throw the hat in the ring a bit more.
They were quite good against Heerenveen. Hudlin's just I think that when you've got like a 7-foot striker, like 6'9", isn't he? But when you've got someone that big, defenders attract to them. They're like moths to a light, aren't they? And Harrott's brilliant at finding space in the box. So the two as a partnership could potentially work. Again, you've got to get your quality right, haven't you, to get it into the box. So Sorba, Thomas, Ben Jackson, etc. Whoever plays wide has got to make sure that the balls into the box are good. But Harrott's the perfect player to what you want in the box for knockdowns or when the ball breaks free. So there's potential there. It's just, but that's what it is, isn't it? It's potential. It's not been solidified and found yet. But maybe it might, maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think Harrott and Hudlin have looked pretty good as a duo. Like you're saying, that Heerenveen game, and maybe if it's still 0-0, like you say, if we're doing what Warnock can do best about the big teams, which make it a horrible game, kind of snuff it out, I think that could be potentially interesting. Like you say, Matt, Hudlin does attract defenders, so and they've looked quite good in pre-season. Like Hudlin's the one that's interested me. He's a lot further along when I know it's only pre-season, but he looks a lot further along than maybe I thought he would. I thought he'd go out on loan, but it looks like he not at the time of recording anyway. So we will see. But
No, it's a big change, isn't it? Pre-season to the Championship, against Heerenveen, who we're down to 10 men and probably playing at 70% to Leicester City. There's a huge quality of a huge gap, gulf of quality there from one to the other, from Stockport as well, who are again trying different out there in pre-season. So, but you've got, I'd play them against Middlesbrough, give them time against Middlesbrough and see how they get on, and one step at a time, build the bridge for them to get across to get them to where you want to be. So we'll see what it's like. But the Middlesbrough game is quite key, I think, for people like Hudlin, Harrod, Osterfield, and it'll give Neil Warnock a good idea as to whether they can step up or move in.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, we'll come on to our match predictions then, gentlemen. Tom, what are you predicting for this one?
Do you want my positive one or do you want my realistic one?
I want whatever you want to tell the listeners, Tom.
I say 3-1 to Leicester.
Oh, gosh.
And I'll say let's have a Helic goal from a corner. Be top scorer then, won't he?
Yeah, he already is.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can see your logic there. Matt, what about yourself? So I suppose you've got to go with a victory. If this is
we're going to shithouse a 2-1, I think.
I'd like that.
All right. Nice. Who are you going for your goal scorers? Because we're doing a prediction this season.
Radoni and Kean Harrott.
Oh, very nice. I would like that. I think Leicester are going to beat us. I think we'll make it a lot more competitive than people are maybe thinking who are like neutral to this game. But I think Leicester will just have the quality over us. I'm going to go 2-1, unfortunately. I just, I don't think it's going to be a great start to the season. Our run is quite tough. And I think they're
a negative Nellies, you two.
I know.
Yeah, well, I hope I'm wrong. But like I said, that midfield concerns me. Like you've said, Tom, Jamie Vardy always seems to score against us, and I think although to be fair, if Jamie Vardy scores against us, do you reckon he'll like howl like a dog, like he did?
With Wolves and the Eagle as well.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure Townsend would love that. But yeah, who am I predicting? I'm predicting to score. I'm going to go Hudlin, just like a consolation, just like bundle it in. Anyway, okay, cool. So nice positive match predictions there from me and Tom. But we'll come on to a bit of extra time because we've just had the full-time whistle go, but it's extra time. You don't hear a full-time whistle go if there's extra time. What am I talking about? It's extra time. It's the mailbag. Okay. So question for you. I'm going to come to you first, Matt. And this is what appears to be kind of the crux of what was on town Twitter. It's very split already, which is, I think that's a new record. We've already split the fan base one match in. Ham says, do you think that when we galvanised under Neil Warnock that the sky is the limit? Carl's got us in the playoffs and Neil kept us up. Neil is still here and we have a new owner who has said all the right things. Can we not just give them a chance? Matt, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think everyone will give them a chance, but I think if people don't like what they see, they won't keep their mouths closed. I don't think they should either. I think that's it, isn't it? I think I'm quietly watching and keeping my powder dry really on our podcast until the end of the window. I know they've mentioned there are challenges. They've not explicitly said what they are. The communication's been really good. I like Kevin Nagel. I think he tweeted yesterday about opening his wallet. I thought that was a brilliant tweet. I really did. I thought that was the exact type of interaction that people want to see from an owner. I thought it was absolutely perfect. I think people just, when it's hard to keep perspective when you can see that the team's probably not where you would want it to be. And I think I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking about fans in general. I think when you sort of see everybody else strengthening, and you see people spending money, you see Leicester throwing big wages. Not Leicester. Rotherham throwing a decent wage at Andre Green, for example. and all the teams at the bottom, Cardiff, who were supposed to be under an embargo, all of a sudden go get Carlan Grant, they go get Aaron Ramsey, and they go 2-0 up at Bell End Road, which was unfortunate that they didn't keep that. But you see this happening, and where we've brought in a right back who Stoke fans tell us is absolutely terrible. He did all right against Plymouth for me, and I thought he did all right against Heronbean. So, I'm keeping an open mind, but I like what I see of him. The goalkeeper's obviously there as a backup to Nichols, but we've got holes in the team, but you've got to, at the same time, I think you've got to give them chance to do it as well. So I'm keeping sort of quiet-ish until the end of the month, and I'll assess it from there. But yeah, 100%. Neil Warnock, I've got 100% faith that Neil Warnock will do Neil Warnock things with us, but you can't just give Neil Warnock, just to give an extreme example, he played a 14-year-old painter and decorator, didn't he? That story against Tavistock or Liskeard or something.
Yeah.
You can't give him 14-year-old painter and decorators and expect him to turn them into world beaters, can you? But I have faith in Neil Warnock, but he needs a little help with a couple of players. But I'm willing to wait till the end of the month before going off on one. But it's difficult. I understand it's difficult for fans when you lose games and all the things people are saying. You do get a lot of naysayers. You get a lot of them, sort of saying, "Oh, we need this, we need that," and then when you play and you can see that patience starts to thin out a bit. And I think what was good in that second episode of the documentary as well, Brady, is you can see how they didn't quite have their ducks in line to buy the club, did they? A lot of people come in and buy a club, and they have everything in line. They go, right, we have a plan. We've got this money. We've put in this there, and they've got time to assess what they're going to do, assess what they need, and assess what they're going to do at each milestone and stage. Kevin Nagel's kind of been thrown into this a little bit. Well, he's thrown himself into it without really a plan before he's done it. He's had to make the plan up on the fly a little bit. So I think there are going to be little bumps here and there. And unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to be the toughest championship for a long time in terms of its competitiveness. So it's not a good year to have a blip, unfortunately. But yeah, you've got to give him time. And I think that documentary was, I know some people find it a bit cheesy, but I took quite a bit out of it as well. So yeah, give him the opportunity. But at the same time, people shouldn't be told to, or shouldn't be abused or told to shut up for having an opinion either. It's just football, isn't it? We've all got one. Let's see how it goes. But if people don't like what they see, they'll say that's just what it is. Like our podcast, Brady. Like the results of the fan survey. So, there we go.
No, I mean, sorry, just to touch on what you've mentioned briefly there. I mean, with the documentary, I think it was kind of clear it's not really meant for the current fans, although it's good to get an insight. It's kind of to open up new markets and attract the American. So yeah, but no, you make a point. I think they're still getting their feet under the table, aren't they? That's the thing. And it's interesting because I've had a few conversations with friends about town, and it's difficult because it's kind of like, I think it's what people want to happen and what actually is going to happen. Because if you look at what they've said it's going to be a bit of a cautious year, and we're not going to bring in loads of people and in this window. And Neil has said in the press conference to bring in like 2 or 3 more. And I completely agree with you, Matt. I think we'll have to wait really until the end of the window, and then we can see what our squad is from now until December, January time. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's
hard to be patient when you're getting hammered, when you're getting beat, isn't it? That's the thing. It's just I understand it. I'm just quite, what will be with it, and I don't really blame people for jumping to Kevin Nagel's the White Knights, sort of like rallying around him and saying, "Oh, give him a chance," etc. I completely agree with them, but I also kind of agree with those that say, "No, we need a midfield. We need this." And it's just patience patience doesn't really exist in football with football fans, does it? Everybody wants everything now, and it is difficult, and it's not easy either, is it? Really, just to like click buy on Cameron Brannigan, offer £500,000, bid accepted. There we go, Football Manager. It's worked. It's not the same, is it? It's not. He might not want to move north. You might have to pay him extra to buy a house, and etc. And then he might even at the end fail his medical. It's just not as easy as it is. a simulation. There's so many moving parts, and they're all a lot of them are learning as well. Mark Cartwright's been here before. He's been in at Stoke for a long time, so hopefully he can be an influence in there. But Jake Edwards has been in America for 10 years or something.
Yeah.
So he's been over in America for 10 years. Kevin Nagel's never been over here, and there's definitely a lot of acclimatizing to do, not just to how football works here, but how football fans work as well, because we are bipolar by nature. If we win against Leicester, everyone will be tagging Kevin Nagel, going, "You're the best owner ever. We love you." And then if we lose, they'll be getting ripped to shreds, won't he? Which I hope that doesn't happen, because you don't want to see that. But it's just the nature of football fans. If we're winning, everything's great. If we're losing, everything's the world's ending. It's just
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate thing is, and Tom, I'll get you in a sec for your take, but I think the unfortunate thing if you're Kevin Nagel and that team is, you talked about that patience, Matt, but the patience is kind of, we've had seasons, and particularly last season it was miserable for 2/3 of it. So I think people's patience is already.
We've had one good year in 5 or something, haven't we? Since we got, it's. Huddersfield fans have been, I wouldn't say we've been through the ringer, have we? Bury fans have been through the ringer. Oldham fans through the ringer. But we've not exactly had a great time, have we, in the last 5 years? It's just, so I think that does add to it as well, Brady, the sort of lack of patience. The way we've come down from the Premier League and just acted like small time in non-entities again. It has frustrated everybody. Nothing changed, did it, really, from being relegated, apart from now we're skin even more. So, yeah, we got the white seats. There is a huge frustration, and I get it. I get it, and it's just unfortunate for Kevin Nagel that he's bore some brunt of it recently. But like I say, win some games, and we'll be, and everyone. It's just the bipolar nature of football. It's just, you've just got to roll with it. Sometimes we've learned, haven't we, on doing this podcast, that if Huddersfield Town are crap, all of a sudden we start getting. People start saying negative things towards us for things that we haven't said sometimes, and you're like, what's going on here? And it's just people just vent, don't they? Vent the frustration, I'll find something to vent the frustrations at, and
get more listeners as well, to be fair.
Sometimes, unless it goes really bad, and then everyone just gives up and stops listening. Yeah. So you need some wins in there. But yeah, he's right. I think Neil Warnock has a lot of credit in the bank, doesn't he? So I don't really see people having a go at Warnock, even if we lose the first 5. I think people will just say, yeah, it's a tough start, though the majority will. But yeah, it's a really sort of something you can talk about for half an hour, isn't it? That what he said. It's just the way it's just the way football fans are these days, especially social media. When you take social media as that echo chamber of chaos as well, people, and people react to it as well, don't they? Someone will come up with something, maybe me, maybe Pos again. Comes up with something sensationalized, and then, or maybe not me, that's not really my style, but someone comes up with something, someone will hang on to, won't it? And then all of a sudden it'll create that reaction. And, and I think as with us doing this podcast, I think we should probably try and be as neutral as possible as we can, can't we? We try. I do. I know you do, Brady. You do, Tom. I think sometimes we just have to try and be as open and look at both angles as often as we can, just to not add to the pile-on, because that's the last thing you want, is just everything going mad and a huge pile-on against people like Kevin Nagel or Neil Warnock, because that's not what we want, isn't it? That doesn't get anybody anywhere. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some transfers in and win a game, and everyone will just be happy and skipping along merrily and daisies in the hair, and all good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of waffle there, sorry, Brady. A lot of waffle there.
That's all right, Matt. You clearly need to get it out of your system. I completely disagree with you. I want as many hot takes as possible. Tom, give me some hot takes. What do you think about that question? Do you think we should be patient, or do you think we should storm?
I think we should be storming
the Bastille,
storming the Sir John Smith Stadium at this very moment, pitchforks and everything. No, I'm with Matt there. I think one positive I also took from Saturday was it was really nice to hear a really loud away end. I feel like it's been a long time since we've gone somewhere and completely. It just, I mean, I watched it on iPlayer, but honestly, all you could hear were Town fans. There was obviously the 2 minutes for the crazy 2 or 4 minutes where they got the 2 goals, but it was a really good following And
I don't think that sells out either, Tom, if it's not for Neil Warnock being in charge either.
So I think the one positive Neil's going to bring this year, I think the fans are just going to unless it went really really on its back, going to back the team, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so lads, we'll end it on this one because quite enjoyed this. Guy Bradley asked, he said, I'm not trying to be negative, so which American snack foods should we start telling at the stadium? This is one that interests me. I don't think they're American, but I suppose they're inspired by American. At Magic Rock, they've got the little jalapeno pretzel bites. I'm a big fan of them. I'd like them. Like typical American snacks. I don't know. We kind of got the hot dogs. I think they're all right.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Is it anything? Do you want some Pop-Tarts, Tom? Anything interesting?
I've never been to America, so
Okay.
I couldn't really comment on having anything that's from America. But I've never had a Twinkie. I'd like to try a Twinkie. I think. So if they start selling those at the stadium, that'd be quite good. Town Twinkies, you could call them.
I've had a Twinkie. I've had one. They're all right. They're not. Corn dogs, Brady.
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs.
I've never had a corn dog. Would you recommend?
Pretty much a sausage on a stick, just dipped in a deep fat fryer and pulled out. That's pretty much a corn dog. It's like when you go to Scotland and you get deep fried pizzas. It's similar sort of thing, but obviously there's corn involved. But yeah, I don't know. I think the food offerings at the stadium have been the same, haven't they, since 1908? So, but I think price wise, it's all about pricing point, though, isn't it? To bring people in, and I know pricing's a sore point, but against Heronville, I went with Charlie, and he was like, "I'm hungry." At half time, I was like, "All right, we'll go get a hot dog," and it's like, "I'll have a hot dog and a Coke," and it's like £8, and that's a meal deal apparently, and it's like, fucking hell.
But it's not even a good hot dog, is it? That's the thing. If it's a good hot dog, you're excusing that, but it's just like
if it's like one of those little carts you see at little venues, like a street, a street thing, then you kind of like looking at that and you're going, all right, it's got all sorts on it, but they're like, no, they're not. And it was
they still just the ones that are in like a tin foil?
Floppy,
pattern?
flaccid. A big flaccid hot dog is what I got. Yeah, but still ate it.
And finish there.
Yeah, I was going to say, when obviously it'd take a lot of effort and so on, but like you get those out of context pod accounts. I think that, and also you saying I've always wanted to Twinkie.
Yeah, you said that a little bit creepily. I think it was a little bit. Yeah, it was a little bit worrying.
But yeah, I think that is a good point to end it on, because even if the results aren't bad, at least we can all still laugh about it. And bring those jalapeno pretzels to the John Smith. You heard it here first, Kevin. I'll tag him, and then obviously he'll reply. But yeah, we'll leave it there. So no, thanks to Tom and thanks to Matt for coming on. Matt, I'm sure we'll be hearing you review an historic Leicester victory this week. So fingers crossed. But
the flaccid hot dogs,
and maybe less of the flaccid hot dogs. I think we will stop recording before we get vulgar.
Come on,
this. But thanks to all the listeners and to Tar for now and up the town.